Hey everybody, so I wanted to jump on and talk about sex drive astrology, but before I do, I just wanted to say I have had an amazing day. I have these few minutes free before hot yoga tonight, and I got an email from Witch Sherry from Witchy Con of the North, and I will be their guest of honor for the convention this year, and I'm super stoked. Anyway, so I'm like vibrating like in a crazy high frequency right now, so if I'm all over the place, bear with me. I took notes to make sure I didn't forget anything because my mind is like firing about a million different ideas a minute here. I'm so excited. Anyway, I also wanted to say, I'm a big astrology buff. As you guys know, it's part of my practice. But in about a week or so, I'm going to start doing some daily EDU little short videos here on consumption spell work. So I have a big focus on Blue Lotus. I'm going to be, kind of talking about how to incorporate that in consumption work and a whole bunch of, honestly, I'm a big sex magic practitioner. You guys know this. On Patreon, I have the Sacred Sexuality Practice. So a lot of the consumption spell work I'm going to roll out for you guys is going to be how to create lust and sex applicable, drinks, food items, vapes. I'm going to kind of walk you guys all through it. But anyways, that's in about a week. But before I start that, I did want to get some Astro EDUs rolled out. Like I said, I am totally ADHDing right now because I'm so pumped up on this Witchy Con of the North. But let's talk about strong sexual drives in astrology. And again, I have a cheat sheet because I'm all over the place. You guys know this. But let's talk about Mars, especially in Scorpio or Aries. Okay, Mars in Scorpio or Aries is super charged up sexually. So just know this. But Mars in Scorpio, okay, so I think like it's safe to say that that's probably the most intense libido astrologically that you're going to encounter. I think that there's a deep obsessive sexuality there in connections. So it is something to be aware of with, your partners. I think that Mars is more of a planet of kind of like that raw biological drive. When we talk about Mars, we talk a lot about war and conflict and aggression, but really it's just kind of like a raw biology when we talk about the impact or the planetary influence Mars has on sex. Mars in Aries, very impulsive. I would say kind of a high physical drive. It's a very quick ignition. Mars is pretty quick, but not quite as quick as Aries. Aries is that rapid fire sexuality, or sexual connectivity, I should say. Mars in the 8th house, we can't leave that off the plate, can we? I think Mars in the 8th house, sexual energy kind of becomes a dominant psychological force, right? It's a motivating factor in a lot of situations and scenarios. So it's just something to be aware of. So let's talk about Venus and Mars. They only give me like 3 minutes. But anyways, let's talk about Venus-Mars conjunctions. This is when attraction, which is Venus, right? And desire, which is Mars, kind of sit together. The wiring is pretty simple here, folks, right? So it's what they like. It's what they want physically. Common effects with this conjunction is strong magnetism, right? Physical chemistry kind of matters more than the emotional connection, honestly, when we're looking at partnerships. And there's just high passion, I think, in general in relationships. And again, that's the Venus-Mars conjunction. Heavy 8th house placements, 8th house placements, it is the house of death, sex, and taxes, honestly, and so much more. I'm kind of simplifying it here. You guys know I'm simplifying. But the 8th house is where sexuality becomes more psychological and transformative from a psychological place. I think people with a lot of planets in the 8th house, they usually have like a strong curiosity about intimacy from a very early age. I think there's difficulty in treating sex casually. It's more of obsessive, fixative type sexual behavior and connections. I think it's very deep emotionally. I think there's a lot of sexual bonding that takes place if you have a lot of placements in the 8th house. So again, something to be aware of when you're kind of looking at synastry and engaging strong, how strong their sex drive is, what your sexual compatibility is going to look like, what to expect. In terms of planetary influence, of course, there's other things that affect this, but I'm just talking about planetary influence today. Rahu, right? Influencing Venus or Mars. Honestly, that's a biggie. Rahu amplifies and exaggerates whatever it touches, right? And so I have some examples I wrote down here. I'm going to try to put these on screen too for you. So when Rahu is conjunct Venus, okay, so we're talking about nodes here. That's a strong attraction toward pleasure, beauty, sensual experiences. When Rahu is conjunct Mars, I think there's an explosive sexual energy and a lot of experimentation that comes with that placement or, you know, that influence. Rahu in the 7th or the 8th house, okay? Unconventional relationships and very strong cravings. Again, very sexualized. Scorpio dominance I put on the list here. Scorpio is ruled by Mars, okay, and it's associated with transformation and sexuality. So of course it's going to make the list. I think Scorpio placements, Scorpio Sun, Moon, Venus, Mars, Ascendant, these often create like a very magnetic presence sexually, a tendency to maybe explore deeper layers of intimacy. Again, very intense emotional and sexual bonding, I think, with these Scorpio placements. And then what else did I put on here? Let me check my list. Oh, Moon-Mars connection. I almost forgot that one. See, this is why I need lists, you guys. Geesh, another 3 minutes. That's crazy. This is why I need a list, though, seriously, because I forget things. Okay, Moon-Mars connection, very important. Okay, this combination mixes emotion with physical desire. Those results are often going to include things like passionate emotional responses. It's going to include strong attraction patterns, desires that are tied to mood and feelings. So again, let's just break it down. Again, I'm going to try to put this all on screen. Strong Mars, especially in Scorpio or Aries, Venus-Mars conjunction, heavy 8th house placements, Rahu influencing Venus or Mars, Scorpio dominance, and Moon-Mars connections. So those 6 placements, those 6 areas of planetary influence are what indicate a stronger sex drive. So if sex is important to you, I mean, maybe take a look at this in your, potential partner or current partner's chart just to kind of gauge the water, the flavor of the water there. But I definitely wanted to roll this out. I'm rolling out a few more Astro EDUs before I jump into my EDUs for consumption spell work, which I'm really excited about. I'm actually waiting for a new batch of Blue Lotus before I start making those videos. But other than that, stay magical, you guys. And if you have any questions, hit me up. And again, I am so excited about Magical Discoveries. It's their 3rd year doing the WitchyCon of the North Convention. I will be their guest of honor presenter. Oh my God, I can't even believe it. I am so wired. Like, they're going to not even know how to deal with me in hot yoga tonight. I'm going to be all over the damn place, sweating my ass off, just wild, just bouncing. But thank you, Witch Sherry. Talk to you soon.